okay, if we were black marketing here and every other farm was getting 30% of their product was finished goods and ours was at 10%, they might be able to say, hey, you know, something's a little different about it. Either you're not doing a good process here, you're not making good money, or you might be doing something nefarious, which we do not do here.
Gotcha. Yeah. Amazing. Brian, another thing I wanted to ask you is the licensing process for a farm this size. I see all these barcodes, I see different kind of license numbers throughout. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's correct. There's multiple licenses per greenhouse. So the state of California allows you 11,000 square feet of cultivation per license. Okay. So this particular facility has 14 cultivation licenses. Okay. It has a distribution permit and it has a nursery permit. So each one of those allows us to have these bays, as I told you. There's 3.5 licenses per greenhouse. Okay. So as you see, the metric tags tied to the license.
3 different licenses per greenhouse. God damn.
Goods we output them here.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, you know, cannabis industry has this like bad stigma about being this sketchy business, but coming here, just hearing the amount of regulations, permitting you have to go through, and how streamlined this entire process is, I mean, it's really impressive. It's kind of shocking. Like, we've been asking you questions throughout the day, but it's just shocking to me that how advanced this industry has been and how little people actually know.
The difficulty of all those things, that's not even running the business and operating the business. You see how clean things are here and how much work goes into keeping this facility at this level, right? If you had to talk about just the regulatory environment, it's like, it almost is dizzying to think you actually have to run a business on top of all those things.
Exactly.
So what you're seeing here is these plants are about their 3rd week of flowering. They have about 3 weeks to go before they're clipped, but you know, let's go ahead and touch them and you can feel how tacky they are and that they're really structured. These are really nice. You know, no powdery mildew, no mold. This environment's really set well, especially with the climate as we have today. It's a beautiful day in Northern California, but you know, this is a good example of where plants are from when we're coming through the nursery, through the veg state, and now to the flowering stage prior to, you know, like I said, about 2 to 3 weeks for finishing on these plants here.
And why do we have these screens throughout the plants?
The trellising's here really for structure, right? Because you see how many, if you look at the system of the stems coming up here, you want to have stability for them to grow through. So this is like training them to stay inside of that. So, you know, we want support for the stems. You don't want them falling over, right, and breaking the branches. So that's really what it's really about.
All right, Brian, so we saw the first stage, we saw the second stage. Can you take us to the third stage?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're now in the final stages of the greenhouse that's flowering, and these plants have about 1 to 2 weeks in this cycle here left. And you'll see down these greenhouses that they're thinning out the fan leaves to make sure that the optimal conditions for the sun drenches down to the bottom of the plants. And you know, we're preparing these for harvest, so they'll clip all the bottoms off of this, and then we'll go hang them in our drying facility and curing facility.
Tell me why the fans are running kind of faster and higher output here, other than the, I mean, considering the other greenhouses.
Okay, so what you saw over there was you have some of the product that's in veg state, right? So it wants a little bit more humidity here today. And again, depending on where you are, I think we talked about in the beginning of our tape here, is that depending on where the greenhouse is on the property, it gets a little bit, it has different thermals.
Yes.
So this one in particular today, they're trying to move a lot of air through here. I want to keep mold from forming in here at the final stage of the flowering. Right? So that's why we have a lot of air moving through this facility.
What is the life cycle of a cannabis plant? From a clone to you're harvesting it. How long does it take?
Well, when you say clone, the clone incoming, we'll talk about it being a 9 to 10 week total process because you have the veg state. We talked about the vegetative state back there, and then you've got another 6 to 8 weeks once they come inside of the greenhouse to go from the teenager, if you will. We talked about waist high through flowering where you are here in the final stage.
What kind of output do you get per plant? I don't know if you can measure it that way.
We really, you know, the funny thing is a lot of people try to say, hey, what did you get off of this plant right here? It's very difficult to do that with 40,000 plants. You can basically weigh the output when you're done. I mean, we're not.
40,000
product guys
plants.
will say, oh, I've got a light here, and I'm going to get 3 pounds